And for Musk himself, the experience of growing up there with a very authoritarian dictatorial father was a very dystopian one from the way that his biographer recounts it. There's memories that he recounts perhaps a little bit gleefully and perhaps through fabrication of sort of walking through puddles of blood on the way to rock concerts. He saw it as a kind of a social Darwinist, sort of all against all type environment, which I think has now very much implanted into his mind. I think he discovers that again in the online world of brutal so-called dungeon crawling video games where he spends much of his time, and also in the kind of cyberpunk worlds of science fiction and films and novels. So I think that extrapolation, which is in part based on the reality of very intense intercommunal conflict, but also becomes something that he can kind of embrace to kind of give, to permit his own sort of vision of nihilism, really, and this belief that all alliances are kind of provisional. You need to defend your own. As we know, he's sort of being clear about sort of building compounds to which he can retreat, expanding his own genetic pool through, a very large family, using the federal government when it's useful, tapping into federal budgets, becoming effectively a techno contractor for NASA through SpaceX, selling his services as Starlink, but always, I think, very much with this exit endgame in mind, the same way that many people in South Africa have their own kind of gated communities into which they can withdraw if they can afford it, with their own water systems and their own sort of power supplies. This kind of Octavia Butler parable of the sower type reality is one that someone like Musk has sort of sadistically embraced in a way. And I think that his sort of accelerationism, by which he makes alliances recklessly one after the other with whichever kind of far-right politician appears on his video feed and has a kind of a distinctive appearance. Tommy Robinson does look like he might have stepped out of a video game. Naomi Seipt, the Alternative for Germany influencer, who he has done so much to boost, sort of cultivates this sort of anime-like appearance. So I think that for Musk and Thiel and others, the experience of apartheid and post-apartheid South Africa has for them filled this role of a kind of a bad future, which is also inevitable and from which they have to just do everything they can to kind of, hunker down and shield themselves, while also tapping into, of course, the extraordinary profits that are available in doing things like providing surveillance systems, as Palantir does, Thiel's company, providing weapon systems, as Anduril does, the Palmer Luckey-owned company that Thiel helped back, and the various other ways that the old-fashioned military-industrial complex, I think, is now